किसी को कोई सवाल पूछना चाहेंगे? आप अपना सवाल किससे पूछना चाहते हैं वो भी आप बताएं और फिर अपना सवाल पूछें.
Alright, so I have a question to Brother Mudassar. So, if an investor invests in a company, so does he become a shareholder?
Yeah. The structure which we have created here is when a person is investing in a particular company, he gives a loan to the company. He's not a shareholder. If you invest in the form of equity, then in terms of taxation, it becomes really costly on you. Then basically what you're looking at is getting dividends, and then you have dividend distribution tax and stuff like that. And then even this thing comes after there is the tax which the company has to pay. So the structure which we thought is the most efficient is an investor is giving a loan to the particular company in return for which he keeps getting returns every month before tax. And so this is more tax efficient. So legally this is how it is. Of course the returns which is being calculated for the investor is based on the profits of the business. So for example, you say you invest 10 lakhs in a particular company, the total investment in the business is 20 lakhs. And for this you get say 25% share in the business. So every month the profit of the company is calculated. You have seen the monitoring sessions which happen in the first week of every month. The profit of the company is calculated, and whatever profit the company makes, 25% share of that profit will be your profit for the particular month. So that is
I have a loud voice. My question is it projected profit or is it the actual profit? I mean, you said on a monthly basis. So, I mean, if you can just clarify on that.
When we create the model, we investors, this is what inshallah you will be earning expected profits. But then every month we look at the actual profits which the business had made in the previous month. And based on that, the profits are given. There could be a significant difference between the profits which is given to the investor and the profit which is projected. For example, Rehan Bhai is with us. The projected return on investment to the investors in his case was 32%. Now the last few months were the worst months in terms of his business. Despite that, he has been able to give about 29% return on investment. So there is always a difference. There could be a significant difference as well. For example, there was this business, Fashion Fever. You would have seen his testimonial in the video. He has wholesale business in Chennai. So he has a lot of traders in Chennai who kind of are involved in the wholesale business. Now we know what happened in Chennai, because of which the complete city, the business in the complete city came to a halt. Because of that, while his expected return to the investor was 30% in the last month, in all the earlier months, he was able to give much higher returns, 30%, 32%. But last month, because of that particular disaster, he was able to give only 13% return on investment. So the profits which are disbursed to the investor are based on actual business performance in the previous month.
Does Revber support startups? And if it is, do I owe anything to Revber as well? Because what I hear is the investment comes in directly from the investor to the person who's starting up business, in case you guys support. If yes, how much is it? If no, how does Revber operate?
Startups are something which we want to do, but we are not doing at this point in time. There are many things which are there in Revber's roadmap, but because of various issues, either because of Indian legal issues or because of issues of practicality, we are not doing it at this point of time. Inshallah, we'll do at some future point of time. So startups we have kept out of because of two reasons. One is that people, if you want to invest in a startup, it has to be someone who can take a high amount of risk. Okay, so either it has to be a single individual who can take a high amount of risk, or it has to be a group of individuals who can take a high amount of risk. The only feasible structure in which we can do startups is if we can pool the money and do multiple startups so that the risk gets divided and at least one of them click and then we give the return. So it's a venture capital is the only option. But today, if you want to start a venture capital company, the minimum investment from each person is 1 crore. Okay, and we are not in a position right now to raise that kind of money. So from each individual. So that's the reason we are not taken up startups at this point of time. And in terms of other investments, we do charge fees when the investment is done, because Rehabar also has to run. So for the expenses of Rehabar, we charge 2% fees from the promoter and 1.5% fee from the investor.
You know, as the question was raised, so how does Rehabar make money? And so the model, how did you get attracted to this model? How did it click? And how does Rehabar make money out of this?
Well, actually, when as a result of the brainstorming that Mr. Mudassar and Sharif Sahab have been speaking about, when we are talking about that, actually the motive was not for Rehabar to make a profit, but in any case, Rehabar as an organization has to run. It is. So there was a lot of debate as to whether it should be a non-profit or it should be a for-a-profit model, and finally we decided that it should be a for-profit model, but the objective would not be profit by itself. The objective would be to provide an alternative. So Rehabar as it is constituted is a private limited company with a limited number of shareholders who have contributed certain capital, not very large amounts. The idea is that it should be able to run and function, and of course if there are profits, there could be a dividend at some point of time, and it could grow so that it could work more efficiently, increase the scale and things like that. So for that, obviously it has to have an income stream, and the income stream has to come from the investors as well as the promoters. So we charge certain fees upfront when a deal is approved and the finance is raised. Then out of which Mr. Sharif has indicated to you, apart from that, out of the profits that are generated for the investor every month, Rehabar takes 5% of that as monitoring charges for itself. And Alhamdulillah, now as of this day, Rehabar is more than breaking even on current account, though Rehabar shares are still at the moment below book value, but as of now they are generating profits on a month-to-month basis.
Any questions? You had a question.
Investors. So my question to you is that whatever projects you have analyzed must be delivering a return of more than 100% plus on a yearly basis. So do you think is the actual thing happening that project on an annual basis delivering more than 100% return on the capital employed? So actually I've been a very avid investor in the stock market for the last 7 years, and I've seen a very few companies growing at that rate.
And yes, you are right. In the stock market, you will not find companies who are able to generate this kind of an ROI, return on investment of 60-70%. In fact, the two large deals we have done, one is of course Go Sports, and the larger deal is the case with the large companies. What you're looking in the stock market is the companies who have already arrived at a particular scale, and when you come to that particular scale, you won't have large return on investments. So even when we are doing this investment, for example, if we are doing the investment with municipalities, we do not expect to have such high returns on investment. So any large business which you see will not have a very high return on investment, but the small businesses have a high return on investment. The reason being that, for example, there are a lot of things whose costs are not taken into consideration. The promoter, he puts his entire time into the business, so you do not take that particular cost into consideration. Typically, you see these businesses have ROI of 60-70%. That is not very unusual. The problem, if you compare this with the large businesses, yes, you will find there is something wrong with this. Smaller businesses, retail and trade, they do make return on investments of 60-70%. And as, for example, one of the promoters had shared, he had 25% investment in the business and 75% came from Rehabar, but Rehabar took 25% of the profits. And yet, I'll tell you, in his case, He's
cost, their rental, their electricity, that a lot of other things. So anything which increases their stock will, the additional business they do directly goes almost into their bottom line. So
You have a counter question?
One more thing that in one of the earlier slides you were mentioning that lease financing is a form of capital financing, and you said that it's a Sharia compliant way of financing. But can you throw some light on it? Because whatever I understand from my academics is that lease involves an amount of interest in that. For example, if you buy a loan, buy a house on loan, that also is a kind of a lease arrangement because you finance that house to by way of a series of installments. So can you please throw some light on that?
Can you ask
See, lease is nowhere I have heard ever that it's non-compliant. You see, there are two types of items, consumables and usables. So whatever is consumables, you are giving house on rent, is not non-compliant. Whatever you are the rent you are taking, that is because of the risk of the asset that you own. If something happens to that house, for example, the tenant will go in their own ownership, and because of that, if the asset itself is non-compliant, that Sharia compliant lease will not happen. If the asset is still there, but as long as the asset is compliant and the use is compliant, for example, giving house on rent to bank, there could be issues. But if you are giving house on rent to someone who is going to use it, there is no issue.
Legally speaking, lease under the Indian legal system is not treated as a debt, not the interest, because assets
treated as an assets belong to the owner, and the other party is a lessee. If you are using the assets, you are a lessee and you are paying the rent. So under the accounting standard in India, you also treated as a rental income, not an interest income.
I can give you one more example.
I think I'll give example of one of the deals which we have done through Rehaber, which has, what you're talking about is financing lease. Yes, it is haram. It is interest rates, and we do not do financing lease. What we do is basically operating lease. For example, the ID Foods deal which we have done, we have created a particular LLP in which the investors are partners and they have invested the money. With this money, we purchase certain equipments. I won't go into details. We purchase certain equipments and then we leased it out to this particular company, ID Foods. Every month they pay rentals. Now, whatever maintenance costs which have to be incurred, they will be incurred by the investors. Anything goes wrong with the particular equipment, that risk is borne by the investors. And every year it is getting depreciated. You don't know how much depreciation will be. You don't know what will be the market value of the asset at the end of the 10 years. All those risks are borne by the investors. So that's how it operates.
So before you start off, one question to Mufti Sahab कि अभी जो माहौल है, बहुत कम स्कॉलर्स ऐसे हैं जो इस टाइप की मामलात को समझ सकते हैं, और जब आमतौर पर हम चले जाते हैं किसी के पास, मस्जिद के इमाम के पास, या तो जो जवाब मिलता है हराम है, ये बोल देना बहुत आसान है, और आमतौर पर ये जवाब मिल जाता है कि ये ट्रांजैक्शन जो है, ये डील इस तरीके से मुझे नहीं लगता है जायज़ है, ये हराम है. तो इसके अंदर क्या होना चाहिए, मतलब क्या गौर फिक्र उलमा को करना चाहिए ताकि ये माहौल जो है वो तब्दील हो.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम. वाक़ईतन बहुत अहम सवाल है. जिससे जिक्र हुआ था कि हम में से हर एक अपनी अपनी मतलब ये कि बुनियादी मकासद को बयान करे, तो उस वक्त भी मेरे जहन में आया था कि रहबर जिस तरह से बिजनेस कर रही है, यानी एक तरफ जो इन्वेस्टर्स हैं और दूसरी तरफ बिजनेस हैं, और उन दोनों के बीच में एक जो सिस्टम है उसको डिज़ाइन करना और उसको डेवलप करना, उसके साथ साथ एक बहुत बड़ी ज़रूरत है जो हमारे साथ 5-6 साल दारुल इफ्ता या जामा मस्जिद में रहने की वजह से, इसलिए कि आप सब जानते हैं जो यहाँ के हैं कि जामा मस्जिद एकदम बिजनेस हब के अंदर हैं, और हमारे पास हर एक हफ्ते 2 हफ्ते में एक नए बिजनेस का कॉन्सेप्ट आता है कि ये बिजनेस है और इसमें क्या होना चाहिए. और जैसे अशरफ भाई ने बताया कि मेरा पढ़ने के ज़माने से ये उसूल था कि जब तक हम उसको पूरा डीप समझे नहीं, उस वक्त तक हमको जवाब नहीं देना चाहिए. और मैंने अपने स्पीच में भी ये बात कही कि ये हमारी कमज़ोरी है कि कभी कभार, जैसे हमारे साथी जिन्होंने क्वेश्चन किया, कि बहुत सारी चीज़ें इस्लामिक, कभी हम इस्लामिक कानून को नहीं समझते हैं, اور بزنس کو اس طریقے سے رن کرنا چاہتے ہیں اور وہاں پر غلطی ہوتی ہے. کئی مرتبہ ہم بزنس کو رن کر رہے ہیں لیکن اسلامی قانون کو نہیں سمجھتے. اس میں ہوتا ہی ہے علماء، یعنی ہماری اپنی کمزوری یہ ہے کہ ہم اسلامی قانون کو جانتے ہیں، سمجھتے ہیں، لیکن بزنس کے بہت سارے سسٹم ہے، ٹرمینالوجیز ہے، اصطلاحات ہے. یعنی جیسے اشرف بھائی نے ذکر کیا، ہم خود جو ہے ایک علماء ٹریننگ کورس ڈیزائن کرنے کے ارادے میں ہیں، عزم میں ہیں، تاکہ علماء مدرسے سے اور مدارس سے پڑھ کر آ جاتے ہیں. اور اس کے بعد جب مارکیٹ میں جو سسٹم چل رہا ہے، سود حرام ہے ہم سب کو پتا ہے، لیکن کون سی چیز سود ہے اور کون سی چیز سود نہیں ہے. میرے پاس یقینی طور پر ایسے کچھ ثبوت ہے کہ انڈین لا یا انڈین سسٹم اس کو انٹرسٹ کہتا ہے، لیکن شریعت کی زبان میں وہ انٹرسٹ نہیں ہے، وہ سود نہیں ہے. اور بہت ساری چیزیں جو قانون اس کو سود اور انٹرسٹ نہیں کہتا ہے لیکن شریعت کی نگاہ میں وہ سود ہے. تو صرف زبان کے کہنے سے تو کچھ نہیں ہوگا. بلیک منی اور وائٹ منی، میں آپ کو بہت ایزی ایگزامپل دوں گا کہ ایک آدمی روز محنت کرتا ہے، میرے بہت قریبی دوست ہیں، بہت اچھی ان کی انکم ہے، لیکن بلیک منی ہے. وہ روزانہ 25,000 40,000 50,000 لا کر اپنے لاکر میں رکھتے ہیں. اب ان کو 1 مہینے 2 مہینے اور سال بھر کے بعد ان کے پاس اچھا خاصا پیسہ جمع ہے. اب اس پیسے سے اگر ان کو کار لینی ہے، وہ 20 لاکھ روپے ان کے پاس ہے، اور اگر وہ جا کر وہ کار خریدنا چاہتے ہیں تو قانون کی زبان میں یہ بلیک منی ہے اور شریعت کی نگاہ میں 100% وائٹ منی ہے. اور اگر وہ بینک سے لون لیتے ہیں، آج کل تو لون کے ایسے سسٹم ہے کہ آپ جو منتھلی دے رہے ہیں وہ 6 مہینے کے بعد دیجئے، ابھی آپ کار لے لیجئے اور شروع کیجئے کام. اور وہ بینک کی نگاہ میں یا یہ کہ قانون کی نگاہ میں 100% وائٹ ہے، جبکہ شریعت کی نگاہ میں 100% بلیک ہے. تو یہ بلیک اور وائٹ کو، یعنی جو اشرف بھائی نے کہا ہے کہ میں یہ سمجھتا ہوں اس مثال کے ذریعے سے سمجھانے کی کہ اس بلیک اور وائٹ کا اتنا خلط ملط ہو گیا ہے، اتنا مکس اپ ہو گیا ہے کہ علماء کو بھی بہت سی جگہوں پر بہت سمجھنا مشکل ہو جاتا ہے کہ اس میں کون سا بلیک ہے اور کون سا وائٹ ہے. تو جیسے رہبر یہ کام کر رہا ہے کہ بزنس کے اندر لوگوں کی رہبری کرنا کہ بزنس مین یہاں ہے اور انویسٹر یہاں ہے، یہ کرتے کرتے جیسے میں نے خود ان کے سے سوال کرنا تھا کہ یہ ایگریمنٹ ڈیزائن کرتے ہیں تو اس ایگریمنٹ میں بہت زیادہ ضرورت پڑے گی اسلامی اصولوں کی. واقعی تو شریعہ کی بہت زیادہ بزنس کو کیسے ڈیولپ کرنا ہے اس میں تو ماشاءاللہ ماہرین بیٹھے ہیں اور وہ علماء تو نہیں بتائیں گے، لیکن جہاں پر آپ کے اصول بنتے ہیں، ایگریمنٹ بنتے ہیں، کہ اس وقت بہت زیادہ ضرورت پڑتی ہے صرف ایک لفظ کے فرق سے، ایک حرف کے فرق سے. میرے پاس مثالیں آتی ہے، وہ حرام ہو جاتا ہے اور یہ حلال ہو جاتا ہے صرف حرف کے فرق کی وجہ سے. تو ظاہر سی بات ہے کہ یہ ایک محنت طلب کام ہے اور اس پر محنت ہونی چاہیے. ہم بھی کچھ اس سلسلے کی کوشش کر رہے ہیں، جس میں جو لوگ پہلے سے محنت کر رہے ہیں ان سے ہم درخواست بھی کریں گے کہ اس سلسلے میں جو تعاون ہو سکتا ہے، جو مل جل کر جو محنت ہو سکتی ہے اس کو کیا جانا چاہیے، تاکہ اس طرح کے بزنس جو ہے ڈیولپ ہو. اور واقعتاً ایک بہت اہم آج ماشاءاللہ آپ سب حضرات آئے ہیں اور رہبر کا سوال آیا، اور انویسٹ کے کچھ لوگ جو ہے انویسٹ کرنا چاہتے ہیں اور کچھ لوگ بزنس کو ڈیولپ کرنا چاہتے ہیں، دونوں یہ کانسیپٹ ہوں گے. حالانکہ اسلامک کانسیپٹ اس سے اور اونچا ہے، اسلامک کانسیپٹ اس سے اور اونچا ہے، اور یہ کانسیپٹ آج ختم ہو گیا. ہم ماشاءاللہ سب مسلمان ہیں، ہم کو اسلامک کانسیپٹ سمجھنا چاہیے. پہلے زمانے میں یہ تھا کسی کو قرض چاہیے لے لو بھائی 10 لاکھ روپے، کسی کو امانت رکھنی ہے بہت آسانی سے امانت کسی کے پاس رکھی جاتی تھی. امانت رکھنا، رہن رکھنا، عاریت پر دینا، تبرعاً دینا، یہ تصور تو آج ختم ہی ہو گیا ہے. آج میں یہ سمجھتا ہوں میرے پاس 10 لاکھ روپے ہیں تو مجھے منتھلی اس کا انکم ملنا چاہیے. اس سے اونچا یہ تصور ہے کہ میرے پاس 10 لاکھ روپے ہیں تو میں کسی ایسی کمیونٹی کو یا کسی ایسے فیملی کو گرو اپ کروں اور ان کو اس میں اس طرح کے رہبر کے تھرو ان کو آگے بڑھاؤں. اور اس کے اندر زکوٰۃ کا ایک سسٹم کہ زکوٰۃ میں یہ مدرسے کو 500 روپئے دوں اور ایک مدرسے کو جیسے آتے ہیں بہت سارے بمبئی میں بھی ہمارے بہت سارے احباب ہیں کہ لسٹ ہوتی ہے ان کے پاس اور بہت سارے جو ہے علماء بیٹھے ہیں اور کسی کو 100 کسی کو 1000. اس سے بہتر طریقہ یہ ہے کہ ہماری زکوٰۃ چند ملے جلے لوگ مل جل کر ایک نظام بنائیں اور وہ رہبر کو دیں کہ ہم 10 لوگوں کی زکوٰۃ ہے اور ایک آدمی کو زکوٰۃ کے ذریعے سے ایسا ڈیولپ، جیسے آپ نے دیکھا کہ ریٹیل کا بزنس تھا وہ ہول سیل میں آ گیا، وہ کل تک زکوٰۃ لینے والا تھا آج وہ زکوٰۃ دینے والا بن جائے گا. تو یہ اور اونچا کانسیپٹ ہے جس کے بارے میں سوچا جانا چاہیے.
مال کا حلال ہونا اور مال کا حرام ہونا، حرام طریقے سے کمایا گیا ہے تو حرام رہے گا اور حلال طریقے سے کمایا گیا تو حلال رہے گا. اب یہ جو بلیک اینڈ وائٹ کی ڈیبیٹ ہے یہ تو کالے اور گوروں کی ڈیبیٹ ہے کہ کالی ہر چیز خراب ہوتی چاہے وہ انسان ہی صحیح ہو، इंसानों के काले होने की वजह से माल का काला होना खराब की बात हो गई थी, और चूंकि गोरे इंसानों ने ये तारीफ बनाई थी, तो माल का जो आज की तारीफ में काला और गोरा होना बताते हैं, असल में इस्लामी एतबार से दुरुस्त नहीं है, तो इसलिए कि लोग सोचे कि
Do you have any standard IT infrastructure for that, or you just go on and check papers and everything? Because small businesses usually do not have, they can usually bypass the books and all. So, for example, the chicken seller, you can easily sell chickens without actually entering into the this thing, and for that even you don't have to have a joint account and all those things. So, how do you manage that kind of?
So the first thing is that's the reason why we do a lot of due diligence before we invest, right? And as I mentioned, we talk to their suppliers, talk to their peers, talk to the other people. So we try to give a lot of emphasis on the trustworthiness of this person, how he has kept his word previously, and so on and so forth. We can never do 100%. We can never be 100% sure, okay? But after we have done all this due diligence, then we assume, we go by trust, saying that most of the time he will be this. It's a question of trust and verify, right? So the first thing is, yes, after we have done all this due diligence, we have invested. Now the first thing is, yes, whatever he is saying should be true. The second thing is, in addition to that, we go into surprise checks. So we do a stock verification once in a while. So if whatever accounts he has given so far is correct, then he should be having so much of stock, he should be having so much of cash, and we go and verify that. So we tried putting IT systems, but then it's going to be extremely difficult, because these small dealers and small things, a chicken shop cannot keep up for computer there and then keep track of what's happening. And same thing is true for this thing. And many of them are competing with other vendors who don't pay taxes, who don't keep accounts, and so on. So for them, if we enforce this, then they are going to go out of business rather than remain in business.
The other way we are able to find, which we have, we are able to know how the overall business is performing. For example, if we have 5 chicken shops and we expect the business to be a certain number, and that particular month the number is suddenly low or suddenly high, even that's also possible. Then he has to come up with a really solid reason why this exception happened. Otherwise, there is no reason why it should be really different from the others. For instance, last month things were not as good for most of the businesses, and we expected that the profits would be slightly lower for all the businesses, and that thing happened. If, for example, that had not happened and we would have got a normal profit from a particular business, we would have known that they had lied. So we have all these other checks and balances also in place. So inshallah.
Very difficult to find out the accounted income. Otherwise, in any business, if there is a streamline, I am sure you may be aware about it, is the modern business, a trust retention account is going on, and lot of money is coming from the business, in a one account is put it, and there all the waterfall mechanism is in place, so you can easily find out the actual income and actual surplus money in the business. But for the small business, in fact, everything is going on the trust, I believe that. Then you can find out your return, and you pay cash also to the investor or in a check. By way of check, you are paying to the investor or by
The
cash?
payments are always in terms of check, except if there in very few exceptional cases, but otherwise most of the payments are either check or NEFT transfers every month.
So that means it is accounted income in the business itself.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The business may not be accounted income because we don't show how much percentage we are taking from them.
But the person who is taking
They
the
may or
check,
may not-
he has to.
They may or may not declare to the IT authorities, that we don't know.
But for example, I have invested money in your venture,
Yeah.
and the
You will know.
business is
You
not
will know
on,
how
and
much
you are
profit
paying me in check, but when I receive the check, I am liable to pay the tax.
Yes, yes.
I am liable to pay the tax. And source I have to declare, from where I have taken. And then there is an issue for that person also. Because I was working in one of the assignment with the taxis app and all these things. I told them it has to be accounted by even a taxi one has to pay tax, service tax, lot of the tax issue is there. You have to look into this aspect also.
Yes, in fact, what we did is exactly for this reason. What we started doing very recently is we take all our promoters to a chartered accountant. We have a particular chartered accountant within our panel, and we take him to him and make sure, and we kind of make sure that he's following everything the proper way. That he has all the priorities.
One issue which is always agitating in my mind, Islamic finance we are looking into as a religious duty or service to the community is a one aspect. But since I am involved in the big finance activities, I am just looking how this Islamic finance can become a alternative finance for the big business activities, and those who are in a position to take the big finance, how we can attract them without showing them it is a religious duty. It may be a religious duty for the Muslims, but it is not a religious duty for the non-Muslims. But Islamic finance cannot spread without that finance become an alternative source of the business for a non-Muslim, because money is a input in the business and profit will come from the input.
So one thing is non-Muslims. Yeah. 6 non-Muslim investors, and they invested more than 50 lakhs to Rehbar. And they are alhamdulillah getting better returns than what they would have got if they had gone for a different investor. And
that's from a Rehbar perspective.
From a Rehbar perspective.
But let's hear how from
Be reduced. I don't say that it would be eliminated completely, but it could be reduced. Apart from that, see, normally in conventional finance, people will tend to go with conventional ways of financing. But in Islamic finance, operating in such an environment, we are forced to look at innovative modes of financing. So that to an extent at least, we are able to eliminate the constraints and the disadvantages that Islamic finance faces. And this is what you find in the Rehbar model, where in spite of having a debt type of financing, we are still able to be Sharia compliant, which on the face of it appears a contradiction in terms. But we are able to do that by doing it in an innovative manner. So yes, to some extent we can. To some extent, because of the fact that we are also prepared to take a hit when things do go wrong, people have to make leeway for that. They have to take this thing, make an exception for that also. So it is possible, even at larger levels, it is possible to do financing, but as I said, it may not be universally applicable.
You have a question?
It's not a question actually. There were many success stories. I just want to know anybody who lost money or had very less return as compared to what you have projected. That is what I want to know.
Are you into risk management?
Like for instance, I mentioned last month, Fashion Fever, he was supposed to give 30% return on investment, but then because of what happened in Chennai, he was able to give only 13%.
No, I'm not talking about that. Anybody lost money, like very
Yeah, in fact, one of the first deals we did, that was a deal in a scrap business. So there the person lost money. He had invested about 2 lakhs and I think he lost about 15% or 20% of the capital. I'll tell you what happened again in that particular case, why he lost the money.
No, that's okay. Second important thing, when you said that what you classified as a loan, technically, he doesn't become an equity partner. So in that case, you must be doing the assessment, all the risk assessment, right?
True.
And when you do this, you put forward in front of the investor, okay, these are the risks, and then he goes ahead.
Exactly. Yeah. So for instance, we will classify the risk. We tell, okay, this is a very safe deal.
Then what do you call it? What that interest is called? Why is it not a riba? And when you do a business through a bank, when you invest some money and you get a return of it, and it is the interest, and when you do it with a riba, with a Rehbar, then why it is not a riba?
Please repeat your question again, please.
I being an investor, I have invested a certain sum of money through riba, when riba has already done due diligence and everything, cross-check and everything.
You mean Rehbar?
Rehbar, sorry. Rehbar has done all the due diligence and cross-checks. I will invest money in that particular business which gives a high return. Then the return which I get, why is it not a riba? Why?
How is this profit and how is this not riba?
This profit is not a riba.
you want to
The
take?
return which I get monthly on monthly basis.
I think going Murtaza should answer, but anyways, the profit which we give is based on the actual profits realized by the business. As I just mentioned as an example, if the investment of a particular investor is 10 lakhs in the business, total capital in the business is 20 lakhs, and based on that we allocate 25% of the profit. Now, if the business makes high profit, you also make high profit. If the business makes low profit, you also make low profits. If the business makes losses, you also make losses. The concept in Islam which differentiates the return from riba is that you share the risk of the business along with the promoter, and your returns will vary based on the actual performance of the business. Unlike riba is, I don't care what happens to the business, I don't care what happens to the entrepreneur, I don't care if he dies, I don't care what happens to him, he has to give me this much amount no matter what. That is riba. But that is not the case with the profits which are being shared.
Does that answer your question?
Right? So it should not be termed as a loan, because when you come to the term of loan, then you can't take anything extra on it. What was defined by the Sheikh, by defining the term of loan, that you cannot take anything excess on it. But then I believe I am becoming a sleeping partner, and the promoter, the businessman, he is the acting partner. My second question is that,
One at a time, let's.
in fact, that just was a clarification, also a question also. Now, on the concept of security, you said that you take undated checks and the papers of property. What in case if the promoters run away or something? Because it is possible. You are always talking about profit. But if there is anything uncertain happens, how are you going to deal with that case? That what that papers has to do and what that undated checks has to do? Are we going to get something back from the promoters? This is my second question.
As it was pointed out earlier, we cannot go on the basis of conventional definitions when we are talking in terms of Islamic finance. We have to operate in the region between Islamic finance and conventional finance. Now, when you talk about a loan in conventional finance, it doesn't say that you have to pay interest. Loan does not mean that you have to pay more. A loan basically means that you have to pay back by contract. According to contract, you have to pay back not less than what you have received. Okay? You have to pay the principal back. That is all that a loan signifies. Now, in the case of Rehbar, the way things are structured, it says that the return on the loan will be based on profits. And that sort of this thing is absolutely okay under conventional finance and under the law of the land. The law of the land doesn't say that a return on a loan has to be fixed. It doesn't say that. The return on the loan, you're free to define the way you want. You can link it to a performance parameter, which could be profit, which could be a gross profit, which could be net profit. You define it. And that will be the return that would be applicable contractually on that loan. So it could be a variable return. Now what happens in case of a loss? Because according to the Islamic system, if there is a loss, it has to be shared in whatever proportions that is a subsequent thing, but it has to be shared between the parties. Whereas, as I mentioned to you, a loan implies that the principal has to be returned, right? But that is a situation which could come, and in which case, I mean, it is something that you can show as a bad debt. When the person who has lent the money, who has advanced the money, says specifically that he wants to do it on a Sharia compliant basis, okay? He wants to do it on a Sharia compliant basis. He also says that it's a loan. So, on the books, he is not supposed to, the promoter is supposed to return the entire amount to him. But it is open to the investor not to take back his whole entire amount. So if he wants to be Sharia compliant, he can share the loss. There is no harm.
But then the loss can be on the two grounds. It can be due to some error. What will be the criteria?
What we are talking about is if everything is right and there is a loss. If it is on fraudulent ground,
Then it becomes another
then there is no- there is a different question altogether.
Different interpretation, different consequences. As far as the security is concerned, it can be enforceable situation.
And the security, if it is not enforceable, well, what can be done? I mean, in
So you
in
can-
banks also you have securities which are not enforceable. So that's a different issue.
So if you have counter questions, you can talk.
We will discuss.
Mumbai.
Yeah, so stay tuned. Have you given your number? We will update you. There's news coming shortly. One last.
Not from the investor point of view, I'm looking from the business side. If he is paying a high rate of return on that loan, so his taxation will go up because income tax officer will look into a different way. If he is making this much percentage of profit, whereas actually he may not be showing that profit in his business. So
Yeah.
because of the domestic transfer price, he will get suffered.
Yeah, so basically we make sure that when these investments happen, he has to show the profits which he is making. If a person is not showing sufficient profits and is given this high rate of interest, it's going to land him in problems. So we don't even do the investment for those kind of people. If they are doing investments through Rever, then they have to make sure that the profits are being shown and they have to pay taxes on that.
But you are accounting taxation on that amount in your calculation, ROI. You are considering the
Taxes from whatever PPT, a percentage of the PPT is being shared with the, and then he pays taxes.
What is the minimum ROI you are looking for?
No, again, as I said, there are businesses which are very low risk businesses and they're getting low return on investment. For example, this particular case I was talking about, he gave 16% last month, but average return I think has been 18% with him. There are businesses which have given very high return on investment. I mean, Rehan's wife's business, Go Sports, has given 29% return on investment, and that too, this is a return in the bad months, inshallah, going forward. So I would expect that the return on investment will go above 30% annualized, inshallah. So it depends on the risk return profile.
उसके ऊपर थोड़ी सी रोशनी डालिए कि हाउ बैतुल नसर जो है वो रहबर के ये मूवमेंट में कैसे सपोर्ट करेगी। बॉम्बे में खास तौर पर जब बात हो रही है तो क्या सपोर्ट आएगा?
सपोर्ट जो है इंशाल्लाह बैतुल नसर और रहबर एक ही कॉन्सेप्ट पे काम कर रहे हैं जो है इंटरेस्ट फ्री कॉन्सेप्ट, और उसी लाइन पे या उसी बेस पे इंशाल्लाह हम लोग इसको सपोर्ट करेंगे। तो मतलब क्योंकि बैतुल नसर खुद अपने तौर पे इस तरह के कर्जे वगैरह फराहम नहीं कर सकती लोगों को जो प्रॉफिट शेयरिंग बेसिस हो, या उसके लिए एक स्पेशल परमिशन या उसके लिए अमेंडमेंट करने पड़ेंगे, वो पॉसिबल नहीं है या बहुत मुश्किल है। तो इंशाल्लाह अगर एक इदारा अगर उसी तरह की लोगों को किसी तरह से फ़ायदा पहुँचाना चाहता है तो उसमें इंशाल्लाह हमारा जो भी सपोर्ट हो सकेगा वो करेंगे।
बहुत से लोग सपोर्ट देंगे आप, ये बहुत अच्छा काम कर रहे हैं।
तो डिनर पे जाएं उससे पहले तो ये एक अपॉर्चुनिटी है, तमाम लोग यहीं पर हैं, मौजूद है। सो आप खाना खाते हुए इंटरैक्ट कर सकते हैं, ज़्यादा सवाल जवाब का सिलसिला जारी रहेगा, लेकिन ये नशिश जो है यहाँ पर ऑफिशियली हम बंद करते हैं। जब आप आए तो आपके कॉन्टैक्ट डिटेल्स हमने लिए थे, तो अगर किसी ने अपने डिटेल्स नहीं भरे हैं तो रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं किया है तो वो ज़रूर से वो भर दें, ताकि हमको जब कभी भी आपसे रब्ता करना हो तो इंशाल्लाह जब बॉम्बे की ऑफिस खुलती है तो फ़ौरन आपको पता चल जाएगा इंशाल्लाह। राइट, तो चल रहा है इंशाल्लाह, लेकिन जब तक वो नहीं है तो आप हमसे राब्ते में रह सकते हैं। मेरा अगर आप नंबर वगैरह लिखना चाहें तो अशरफ मोहम्मद ये मेरा नाम, इदाफा इन्वेस्टमेंट से मुंसलिक हूँ, और मेरा मोबाइल नंबर जो है वो 9821232224। ताहिर भाई आपका मोबाइल नंबर मुझे याद नहीं है तो आप भी लिखवा लीजिए।
मैं टाइप कर देता हूँ।
Second time 98194 91303
कि बहुत से लोग जो है उन लोगों के पैसे और जो सूद पे रखना नहीं चाहते हैं, तो ये एक एक्सीलेंट मीडियम है اور یہ پیئر ٹو پیئر انویسٹمنٹ کا کانسیپٹ ہے جہاں پر انویسٹر اور یہ پروموٹر ہے وہ ساتھ میں آ جاتے ہیں اور جو نفع اور نقصان کی بنیاد پہ شیئر کرتے ہیں. یہ تو اسلامی بنیاد ہے جو ایکویٹی کا جو کانسیپٹ ہے اسلام میں, اور یہ بہت ضروری ہونے کے لیے. اور اس سے کیا ہوتا ہے کہ ایک عام آدمی جو انویسٹر ہے جو ریٹرنس چاہتا ہے نا, تو ایک منتھلی ریٹرنس ان کو مل جاتے ہیں, بھلے وہ کم یا زیادہ رہتے ہر مہینے میں, لیکن وہ اس کے اندر حصہ داری ہوتا ہے اور یہ مطمئن ہو جاتا ہے اس کا. مجھے میرا نام ہے ظفر عباس ہے اور میں اس سے بہت یہ کانسیپٹ سے اتنا متاثر ہوں کہ یہ سب پہ اپلیکیبل ہو جانا چاہیے اور لوگ اس میں انویسٹ کریں. شکریہ.
سر یہ بتائیے کہ آج قسم کا کیا لگا آپ کو, کیسا لگا اور لوگوں کو کیا کہنا چاہیں گے؟
بہت اچھا رہا, بہت اچھا انیشیٹو ہے اور ہم چاہیں گے کہ رہبر یہاں بامبے میں بھی اپنی ایکٹیویٹیز جلد سے جلد شروع کریں. میں نے ان کو کافی قریب سے دیکھا ہے, بنگلور میں بھی میں گیا تھا اور ان کی کیس سٹڈیز بھی میں نے دیکھی ہیں, کس طرح سے ان کا ڈیو ڈیلیجنس وغیرہ ہوتا ہے. تو انویسٹر کے پارٹ سے بھی یہ ایک بہت اچھی کوشش ہے, یہاں کے انویسٹر کو حلال طریقے سے انکم جنریٹ کرنے کا موقع ملے گا. اور یہاں جو بامبے میں چھوٹے بڑے انٹرپرینرز ہیں یا چھوٹے بڑے کاروباری ہیں, بزنس مین ہیں, ان کے لیے بھی ایک بہت اچھا موقع ہے یہ کہ مطلب وہ حلال طریقے سے بنا بینکوں میں جائے انٹرسٹ کی ڈیلنگ میں, انٹرسٹ کی ٹرانزیکشن میں ڈیل کی بنا کیے ایک حلال طریقے سے سرمایہ بھی حاصل کر سکتے ہیں اور کاروبار کو اپنے فروغ دے سکتے ہیں. تو میرے خیال سے
جو اس رہبر کے ذریعے سے جو بے روزگار ہیں ان کو روزگار بھی مل سکتا ہے.
بالکل روزگار کی بھی بہت ساری اپارچونیٹیز آئیں گی, جیسا کہ ہم نے ابھی یہاں دیکھا پروگرام میں انہوں نے بتایا کہ کئی لوگوں کی جو انٹرپرینرز ہیں یا جو کاروباری ہیں وہ جو پیسہ لے کے ڈپلائی کریں گے اپنے کاروبار میں, پیسہ لگائیں گے, تو اس سے کتنی اپارچونیٹیز اور پیدا ہوگی امپلائمنٹ کے لیے بھی, یا پھر جو انویسٹ کر رہے ہیں ان کی فیملیز کو حلال طریقے سے جو آمدنی ہوگی اس سے ان کے کئی لوگوں کی روزی روٹی کا بھی مسئلہ اس طرح سے بھی حل ہوگا. تو یہ ایک بہت اچھا انیشیٹو ہے اور میں سمجھتا ہوں کہ بمبئی کے لوگوں کو بھی اس پر غور و خوض کرنا چاہیے اور بھرپور ساتھ دینا چاہیے. رہبر
نام
عبدالرشید.